Hi, welcome to ThinkTech. We are raising awareness about technology, energy, globalism, and diversification. This show is Center Stage. I'm your host, Donna Blanchard, very proud managing director of Kumukuhua Theater. We are coming to you live from Pioneer Plaza in the heart of downtown Honolulu, very near Kumukuhua Theater. Today, I am delighted to be talking with Rajiv Varma. He is the one-man show, Deranged Marriage, which is going to be playing at Doris Duke Theater tomorrow night and Friday night. That is 2 nights only. There are still tickets, pardon my hair on my microphone, there are still tickets available for both of those nights, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Before we do, I want to tell you that if you would ever like to be a guest in our studio audience, please email Jay, that's J-A-Y, at thinktechhawaii.com. Now, Raj, as he has given me permission to call him.
Yes.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great, I'm very good. We're in the middle of ticking in the show, so it's great.
Yeah.
Open tomorrow, yeah.
So you flew in from New Zealand when?
I actually live in New York. I actually immigrated to New York about 9 years ago, and I've been doing the show off-Broadway and transferred it off-Broadway, actually. Ran it for a couple of years in New York City, and so I flew in from New York, so that was quite the flight.
Oh, that's quite the flight, too. And when did you land?
Arrive?
When did you arrive?
I got in at like 10:30 or 11 o'clock on Sunday night, and then I had to be up at 4:30 on Monday morning to rush off and do TV, ABC, KITV, yeah, which was cool. And then we started packing in the show today, and we performed tomorrow on Friday. So
I'm so excited to see it.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to be here. Hawaii is beautiful, 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 beautiful. Love it here.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah, kind of nice. Everybody's so laid back. Misa, who's been working with me to help me put the show on, he turns up at the airport to pick me up, and when he gets out of the car, he doesn't have any shoes on. I was like, oh, I'm in Hawaii now.
That's how we roll here.
Yeah, that's how you roll here.
Yeah. And it kind of drove me a little bit insane when I first arrived here, and I came from the Chicago area.
Oh, God,
so
cold.
It drove me, well, cold, but that laid-back attitude, I was like, we got to do this now.
Right.
Everything. We have to do everything right
Yeah.
now, you know. And now, I mean, I love the weather. I find it hard to imagine ever leaving here, but it's not just because of the weather. It's the people, and it's the attitude that allows people to be that laid back. And it took me a while to figure out.
Right. I was driving with Scott from the Honolulu Museum of Art, and he had moved here, and I said to him, what drew you to this place? And without a second of thought, he said, the people.
Yeah.
And so far, everybody that I've come across has been super lovely, you know? Like, Misa was taking me for a walk the other day on Waikiki, and he just went up to the surfer guy who was washing a surfboard and started, it was just like, oh, did he catch any waves? And the guy was like, yeah, it was quite good out there. And Misa just started up this conversation saying, oh, you know, where's the best surf? Where do you go? And I thought, gosh, if you went up to somebody like that in like New York City, they'd be like, what do you want from me? You know, like, what's your ulterior motive to talk to me? I mean, not everybody. I mean, that's a bit harsh. But yeah, there's something to be said about having the time and space to be able to engage in conversation and not feel like every conversation has to have some sort of ulterior motive or, you know, some objective. Right. And I feel like living in New York, a lot of the city's energy is driving like that. It's a constant drive to get what you want, to make an impression, and, you know, it's just crazy.
Well, you know, okay, so let's get a little philosophical here. I think that there is an allowance for, you have a right to be here. You're here in Hawaii. Yes, you have a right to be here. I know the land welcomes you. Right. You don't get that in New York. You got to prove why you get to be in New York. It's very, very different. Both are exciting and wonderful in their own way, though.
Yeah. When I first started and moved to New York City, I'm an actor from New Zealand, so I graduated from drama school in 1994, and had 3 theatre companies in the 1990s in New Zealand, and then started working in television in like the early 2000s. And then in 2002, I met this Indian stand-up comedian, Taran, and we created Deranged Marriage together. And now it's been going for 12 years, and we've done it in 8 countries over like 180, maybe 200 times now. So I took my identity as an Indian and used it as a source of strength as opposed to a weakness, you know, like as an artist. because you know I was always getting cast in two-dimensional roles, you know, as you do. But this kind of helped me subvert stereotype and own it, as opposed to being kind of at the mercy of it. Do you know what I mean? Like I had agency because I was writing the material, but I had a point at the top of that rant, but I can't remember what it is.
You just answered 5 of my questions, though, in one
No, but there was a
sentence, so
point.
we're
There was
good.
something that we were talking about.
It has
like-
something to do with the comparison between New York and Honolulu? Were you still on that, or were you going in? I don't even know you. I don't know
Oh,
you. You just
yeah,
came
when
in
I
here.
got to New York City, I was working part-time as a data entry operator at the New Zealand Embassy, which was mind-numbing.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
catching the 6th train at like 8 o'clock in the morning with the rat race, and you know, it was just like
Ooh.
compressive. And I was I was in the bathroom actually, and this gentleman came in, and we just sparked up a little conversation as you know as we were leaving the bathroom, and I said to him, oh, you know, he goes, how are you enjoying New York? And I was like, oh man, this is intense being a data entry operator. I mean, sitting at the computer is killing me. And he goes, don't worry. He goes, this is a very tough, complete stranger. He said, this is a really tough city. It's a really hard city, and it'll beat you down and slap your face. But then when it's ready to, it will throw you a kiss. And when New York kisses you, it's unlike any other kiss of any other city in the world, because it's the reward is amazing. When New York will reward you, it'll really reward you. And I bring that up because 7 years I've been auditioning in New York City, and you know, it took me 3 years to find an agent there, you know, after having an agent in New Zealand for, I don't know, 17, 16 years, or however long I was represented there. And finally last year I booked a show with Roundabout Theatre Company called Indian Ink by Tom Stoppard. And I've just come off the back of like 7 months work on that. And I just, you know, totally appeared on Broadway doing 8 shows a week for, you know, 3.5 months
That's
or 3
some
months.
kiss.
Yeah, it was some kiss.
I think that might have been a little more than a kiss.
Yeah. But I mean, that's it, you know, like if you're an actor in New York City, I mean, that's what you want to do, right? You want to work on Broadway, but you know, it'll take you it may not, but it might take you up to 7 years or more, or maybe never to get that kind of opportunity. But then, you know, when you're in that environment, you know, I was working with Tom Stoppard, and, you know, like he was there, he flew over, and
Amazing.
I worked with him, yeah, and I worked with Rosemary Harris, who's a Tony Award-winning actress. She won a Tony in like 1954 or something.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, it's that kind of thing New York will give you. Like, that's available in New York, that exposure to that level of, you know, artists, you know, people who've just got amazing experience, and you learn, you know, you just learn. But on the other hand, everybody goes to New York City to have access to that kind of opportunity, so it creates this, I feel it creates like a very competitive environment, you know.
Sure.
It's even, I thought that, you know, once you work at that level, you know, people are relaxed. I mean, everybody is relaxed and chill, but there's still this competitive thing going on. Like, there's still all of this stuff that, I don't know, maybe it's just actors, but, you know, like a feeling that there is a culture of scarcity. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like, there's not enough roles, and, you know, the opportunities are limited, and, you know, you need to keep hustling, and maybe, not everybody, but maybe some people feel like, oh, I shouldn't say to my fellow actor the auditions I'm getting. I mean,
Right.
that, you know.
I felt that in Chicago.
Right.
To some extent. I felt that there was, if you're going to get something, it diminishes me somehow.
Yeah, yeah, culture of
Yeah.
scarcity. But see, coming from New Zealand into the American environment, like with film and television and theater, I mean, it's so expansive. I mean, it's, people say that the industry is small in New York City, and I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I agree
I've
with.
never heard anyone say that. that
Right.
the
Oh,
industry's-
well, they do when you're working on Broadway.
Well, yeah.
They're like, oh, it's a very small community here on Broadway. But, you know.
Oh, okay, you probably, if you do that for a while, you bump into the same people.
Yeah, I think so.
I suppose.
But my point was that in New Zealand, it's small.
Yeah.
You know, New Zealand's a small industry, you know. So.
Yeah, you probably, yeah, we already have discovered some people we have in common. And
Yeah.
I have very little experience
Yeah.
with that theater.
I mean,
scene.
that if anything, that's a, you know, that would be where a paradigm of culture of scarcity would be more kind of, you know, applicable.
Yeah.
But not, I don't think so in America. I mean, I think there's so much more opportunity for a South Asian actor, an English-speaking South Asian actor in America than what there possibly is in New Zealand. I mean, how many roles are being written for South Asian characters in New Zealand television? Not many, There's more being written in the American market, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that they're trying to make some changes along those lines in New Zealand as well. I think we are all growing with our, there's enough roles out there for women who look like me.
Right.
There's a lot of them.
Right.
Okay, and but until I moved here, I had never, I'd been the wrong age. I had to play up or down, for different roles, but I'd never been the wrong color.
Right.
For a role,
Yeah.
And that's changing, and that's part of the reason. That's a big reason why I came here to work. I wanted to work with Theater of Place so that the people here are the ones who we are representing on our stage.
Right.
And I think that that's a wave that is moving rather quickly.
Yeah, I mean, the lip service that they pay to that is diversity, right? That's the hot key word in the entertainment industry, is promoting diversity in projects within casting. I mean, I've always come up against this kind of typecasting and stereotyping, and it's, who's responsible for that? Like, do you go, oh, it's the writer, the way that they view what the audience wants to see? Like, who will the audience connect with when they watch this play or film or television show? Which characters are they going to connect with? And, a writer might have in their mind a perception of what the audience is going to want to see, and so then they propagate characters based on that. Maybe, not all. Some might, particularly in fast rotation commercial environments, where you have to, like, get the scripts out, they're machines, So, what do you say, that writers don't have, that's a tall statement to say, oh, writers don't see the communities they write for, or the audience they write for in a broad way, all right? That's like one level where you might argue it, but then above that, there are producers, Producers have far more say. I mean, television, I think television is a producer's medium, certainly not a director's medium, certainly not an actor's medium. So it's a producer's medium, and producers is where the buck stops. The studio executives that fund projects, they fund it based on what at their discretion. I mean, it's their discretion. They have the money, they have the position. So, if they're signing on a check, it's up to them. So, who are these people? As artists, we are journeymen, travelers, going from one project to another project on contract basis, and we don't necessarily have exposure to or a say or agency in the decisions that producers will make, So who are the producers? Are the producers of a particular ethnicity? Do these people view American popular culture in a specific way? Do they feel that the characters they cast have to resonate to a certain section or segment of society? Who do they think the audience is? And I think that is really, I think, one of the underlying factors which really creates these sorts of issues.
Well, we have, okay, but enter the democratization of the industry, YouTube.
Right,
And
YouTube,
you and I could put together a series and do a darn good job of it
Right.
that has, us, people who are not the Hollywood go-tos, and do a really good job of it and develop an audience, which is happening.
Yeah.
And producers, everything that they're doing it for the buck. They got people they got to answer to, and they've got paychecks they need to be able to deliver. So if you can prove with your show, and we can prove with Kumiko Theater, that this is what people want to see.
Yeah.
That's what's causing the wave.
Right.
I really, and it's going to take a while. Do you know the show Empire?
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Huge, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. They got some very talented people. It wasn't just that here's a group of people that have not been represented as fully as they should have been.
Right.
But they got a whole lot of talent behind it.
Right.
Good writers and some great performance
Right.
in there, and people are standing up and taking notice. And I don't care where you grew up and what color you are, you have to admit that's a well-done show.
Right.
Just as Mad Men you know.
Yeah, exactly. There was an article in Entertainment Weekly that I read on the plane about how Furious 7 with Vin Diesel is actually a poster child in Hollywood for diversity. You wouldn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and like the Furious Too Fast Too Furious, or franchise has made almost $1 billion internationally.
It's still, they're on like 7
Yeah,
now or
it's
something.
7.
That's crazy.
But they had like one whole one that was Tokyo Drift, so that was not even set in America, and that did well. So, it's projects like that that are actually shifting the way that producers are viewing the market.
I'm looking at it. We have to take a break.
Okay.
We haven't even
even
begun
talked
talking about your show.
We haven't even talked about the show.
We will get there, I swear we will. But we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back talking with Raj, I don't even know, Varma.
Varma.
Thank you. Be right back.
Inspired by an ancient culture, classical Chinese dance, vigorous physicality, timeless stories, 5,000 years of Chinese music and dance. Shen Yun presents authentic Chinese culture. Coming to Blaisdell Concert Hall, May 8th and 9th. Tickets at shenyun.com or call 808-792-3919.
Hi, my name is Sachiko Slomov. I'm the floor manager of ThinkTech Hawaii here. You can join us on the air every weekday from 1 to 5 or off the air at thinktechhawaii.com. We stream all of our videos and all of our amazing shows at thinktechhawaii.com or on our Ustream channel. You can also check us out on Twitter at ThinkTechHI or Instagram at ThinkTechHI also. I'll be listening, and I hope to see you there. Thanks.
Hi, aloha. My name is Chris Leatham, and I host a show called The Economy and You. The show plays every Wednesday at noon. And on my show, I bring on guests who are interested or working in the technology space. And so I'd like you to come and watch the show and learn with me about all the sort of exciting things that we're doing in Hawaii to build and grow our economy ecosystem. So I'd like to say aloha, and I look forward to seeing you on the show. Thank you.
Hi, we're back, and we are so live. This is Center Stage on the ThinkTech Hawaii digital series. And I want to let you know that we broadcast our shows every weekday from noon to 5 on ThinkTech, right here at thinktechhawaii.com. And if you missed any of our shows or you would like to replay any of our shows, you can find them archived on our website, and you can also go to YouTube. Just look for our channel, ThinkTech. Okay, we're talking with Raj Varma. And we're finally going to talk about your show now that we've discussed the socio-political landscape of the arts world in
the future of diversity.
New York, Chicago,
America,
Honolulu, and we covered a lot of ground in 12 minutes there.
Wow.
I'm proud of us.
Yeah.
High five.
High five.
Okay, and we're bringing that back. I just wanted to let you know that I am bringing the high five back.
Oh, are you?
Because it suffered a lull.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I just high-fived one of my technical operators this morning.
You are so in the club.
Yeah,
right
I was
now.
like, high five, man.
We're linked.
How's that? It's amazing.
Okay, so you've been doing this show for 9 years.
Longer, 12.
12 years.
Yeah. Kind of sneaks
And
up on you. It
really-
It really does.
Yeah.
It really does. It's like, what, 12 years? What the
It
heck
seems
happened
like
there?
only 9.
Yeah. It seems like only 9. Yeah.
And you developed it with your friend. You mentioned your friend's name.
Taran Mohanbai.
How did that happen? Can you?
He's a comedian, and he approached me in 2002, and I was doing a theatre show in New Zealand, and he asked me to direct him in a solo show for the Comedy Festival in 2002, and he'd come up with a premise for a show, so I directed him in it, and at that time, God bless him, he hadn't done that much acting, so I kind of had to I had to mold him into this role and do this multiple character kind of show with him. And it was like 40 minutes long. We put it on in New Zealand, and it just took off. Like nobody at that point was doing any kind of comedy about the New Zealand Indian community at all. So we kind of found our place, and then we just got picked up by a promoter, taken to Australia, and next thing you know, we were doing the show at the Sydney Opera House in Melbourne at the Comedy Festival. And that period, it was like about a 6-week period that we had, like every day he was doing the show and we were having full houses and I was taking notes. And then during the day we were going into the conference room of the hotel and reworking, and the show went from 40 minutes to like an hour and 20 minutes, and we changed characters, and then like that whole process set the, what's the word for it? Set the standard for how we worked. We just kept reworking the show, and so now it's sitting at about an hour to an hour and 10 minutes, and yeah, we cloned it too. That's the other thing I didn't mention. Is that by 2005 we came back to New Zealand after touring to Malaysia and Australia, and I think we'd done Singapore by then. We'd done South Africa, I think. And anyway, we got back to New Zealand and we had got multiple bookings for the show. And of course, we wanted to, take the bookings, like
Sure.
You take a booking if you're an actor. You take the booking, you make the money. So we cloned it. I jumped in and I started acting in it. I was originally the director and co-writer, and then I started acting in it. And then I started doing it alongside at different venues while Taran was doing it. And then we started touring it to different places, and then I immigrated to America, and then when I was in America, I put it off Broadway to begin with, and then just climbed up slowly after a year of off. I got it off Broadway, and then I did it off Broadway for about 8 months. I had a model of doing it once a week, so just on a Friday night we would do it, and I did it once a week, pretty much for 8 months, and then that process was a process of rejigging the work for an American audience and seeing what gags worked in like Malaysia and Singapore and Australia and New Zealand and even Canada, how lots of those gags were not working in New York. So it was great. I really learned a lot. New York audiences are very savvy. You give them a gag, you give them a joke once, they've heard that joke.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you don't need to explain it again.
You don't need to do the joke again.
Yeah.
So there were certain things that we would do repetitively, and the audiences really enjoyed them in these different countries, but they were kind of more forgiving. Like I found like New York audiences were like, yeah, that's funny the first time, but now the second time, show us something else. Like,
Yeah.
so that was great. That challenged me to develop it even more. So, yeah, that's kind of how we've been doing the show. Yeah.
Is it so? So Taran is still doing the
Yep.
show elsewhere.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that is so cool.
He just did it in New Zealand like a couple of weeks ago. He's doing it again in Nelson in like a week or two.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
And do you reconnoiter and say, "Here's what I changed on
Yep.
this one, and this is"?
Yep.
So you're still very much working together on
Yeah.
the shows.
Oh yeah. It's our combined work. It's our baby, and we're like brothers. Yeah, we've been touring. And we've got another show we've got 3 shows that we've devised together. So, Deranged was the first, and then we did another one called Indian Invaders, which was a crazy comedy show with both of us. Because once Taran and I were doing DM, everybody was like, "Wow, when are you guys going to actually act together?" Right? So we created a new work, and then we expanded that and threw a lot of money in it and created this show called From India with Love, where we took the mother and father character from the first show, Deranged Marriage, because Deranged Marriage is about a young Indian boy called Sanjay who spends his life avoiding the issue of an arranged marriage. And so his parents are badgering him in the play. And the parents actually resonated more with the audiences than Sanjay, because Sanjay is this kind of like straight dude in a crazy universe full of zany characters, right? He's the straight guy. So the mother and father character resonated the most. So me and Taran were really bored of touring alone. So we wanted to create a work where we could play with each other and tour together, And so we created From India with Love, which was based on the parents. And that's a much bigger theatrical work. It's got, a set, lighting design, costumes, props, a puppet that we got made, wood carved puppet, and so yeah, we do that as well. We tour that as well. But Deranged Marriage is like, it's the first one we did, so it's the one that we both keep doing, and I think we'll keep doing Deranged for a long time.
Yeah. How different are the shows that the two of you are doing now?
The version I'm doing is the international version. So the international version has a better, not a better, what am I saying? Not better at all. I mean, just a different, sorry.
That's okay.
Like a different intro, which has a slideshow that explains some things about New Zealand and gives the the narrative a context. But in New Zealand,
You
and
don't
in
have to do
Australia,
that.
we don't have to do that. You know, it just explains a little bit about how New Zealand is not Australia, and New Zealand has 4.4 million people, and you know there are Indians in New Zealand. You know, because people meet me in America and they're like, "Who are you? You know,
Yeah.
what are you?
What's
you know?
that accent?
You know, what's
The
that accent?
and the
Yeah.
look are not really going together.
Yeah,
Like that.
and I always like challenge them by going, I'm actually an American, legally, because I'm a citizen now. So, you know, it's like, do you see me as an
Oh,
American?
well, then you fit right in.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
Here in Hawaii.
Yeah.
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 Anybody's.
It
Anybody's.
goes.
Yeah.
Your skin's a little brown. Yeah,
Right.
You fit in better than I do.
Yeah. Well, you can go to the beach and get a tan.
Yeah. This is a tan.
Oh, that is a
I don't
tan.
know how to tell
Uh-oh.
you. I have tan lines.
Uh-oh.
This is as dark as we get.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah. Any more than this, and you'll start going red.
Yeah, I don't
Right.
want to. I don't want to jump that line.
No.
Okay, so let's go back a little bit
Yep,
further.
yep.
Your devising work with your friend.
Yep.
Where did you start? Did you go to school for acting?
I
you
did.
study acting?
I left school when I was 16 because I was just so academic. No, I left school. I got into the Performing Arts School in New Zealand, which was a full-time course. And I did my first year when I was 17. And then I got in for my second year, but I turned down my position because I was just so young, you know, and everybody else in the course was, you know, there were people who were like in their mid-30s, and, you know, it was, you know, they were acting like 30-year-olds doing a drama school course in New Zealand. You know, they were like going out afterwards and partying, and I was like this 17-year-old little boy, and, you know, quite straight kind of guy, grew up in an Indian family, and so it was too much. So I took a year off and decided to do method acting, which I, for some reason, would be less intense. And then I went back and did my second year when I was like 19, I think, and I graduated by 95. And then
Okay.
upon graduation, I immediately started devising and creating theater, and I had my own theater company, and I worked with a guy, Toa Fraser, for a while. He wrote a couple of shows which I produced and acted in, and then I devised some more work which I created with other friends from school.
Hold on, you're gonna have to back up a little. See, I gotta slow you down.
Uh-huh.
You just started devising theater. Is this
Yep.
something that you had learned and embraced in school?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
a lot of people at school, yeah, why did I do it? Why did I start to, I was
Good.
just hungry, you know, I was just young and I wanted to work, and I wasn't interested in waiting for the phone to ring, and so I just started creating theater. I thought that it would give me status and power to be a creative force and create stuff. Actually, when I was young and I did it, it actually really battered me down, you know, like it's tough, you know, it's really a lot of work, and there's no money, you know, when you're starting out, and, you know, I worked in a video store for 7 years, and I struggled, you know, I really struggled, and luckily my mother was really supportive, my brother was really supportive, and I was able to stay at home. I lived at home till I was in my mid-20s, and I just created work. I just kept creating more and more theater, and it was kind of like, and then I wasn't getting any auditions for other things, you know, like I was just doing my own thing. And then I met Taran in like 1999, 2000, and then we started to create theater that was about our identity and our culture. And as soon as I used my ethnicity as a source of strength, we went for it. It just started taking off. And then, you know, after doing the shows and touring, then we started getting television work, and, you know, we'd start getting called in to you know, Taran's a writer too. He'd start getting called in to write for things, and then, you know, he got involved in that area more, and I kept acting. And then he was part of a team that wrote New Zealand's first ever Asian sketch comedy show called 1,000 Apologies, and I got cast in that as one of the core characters. So I did that. That was a sketch comedy, and I played about 40 characters in that. And then I got cast in another sitcom called The Mill and Beard Show, again as like as a woman, actually, as an Indian woman, because in From India with Love, I play the mother. So I became kind of a little bit known in New Zealand as this dude that plays Indian women, you know, like I did a lot of like breakfast shows and stuff dressed up like an Indian woman. And
What's
wearing...
not to like about that?
Yeah.
You know, okay, I'm going to stop you for just a second because
Right.
we have to go to another break.
Oh, okay.
This is our last one, so we got to cram everything
Oh
else
my
into the
goodness!
next
Come to the
12
show.
minutes.
Come to the show. The show's on tomorrow night and on Friday night at 7:30 at the Honolulu Museum of Art at the Doris Duke Theatre. Come to the show. There we go. We did it.
Okay, we still have 12 more minutes to talk after
come to the
this.
show. Come to the show. Come to the show. Come to the show.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with with our guest Raj
Varma.
Varma.
That's okay. I got interviewed once and they called me Barama Rama. So
Barama
Rama Ding Dong. A newspaper in New Zealand called me Rag Vermin. Seriously.
Okay, this is ThinkTech Hawaii, and it's Wednesday. Every Wednesday is Energy Wednesday here in Hawaii, the state of clean energy. 4 to 5 p.m. every Wednesday. Come and listen to us. And just to show you what I mean, I'm going to ask Sharon to tell us more.
Come and see us every Wednesday, as Jay said. And we have people like Jim Albers from HECO here and co-host Ray Starling here every Wednesday. We not only go on Olelo and OC16, but also stream live. So please come visit us, hear about the latest in clean energy.
Okay, Jim, you've been here. You got any comment on all this?
As important as energy is in all of our lives today, this is a great forum and a great format to vet those issues. So I encourage everybody to listen in and participate.
Okay, Ray, what do you think for a close?
Well, I think this is the greatest show in the energy world here in Hawaii. You can come here every week, 1 hour, and catch the latest on what's happening and hear from the people who really know what's going on, like Jim Alberts. We appreciate your coming today.
Thank you.
Ray Starling, Sharon Moriwaki, Jim Alberts, and Jay Fidel here in Hawaii, the state of clean energy. 4 to 5
Aloha.
p.m. Wednesday. Aloha. Aloha.
Hi, we're back. This is Center Stage on the ThinkTech Hawaii digital series. I am Donna Blanchard, your host and proud managing director of Kumukuhui Theater. We are coming to you from Pioneer Plaza in the heart of downtown Honolulu, very near Kumukuhui Theater, where we are running the show Ka'iolani right now. That's a whole other story, kumukuhui.org. We're talking to Raj Varma, who is the co-writer and star of this one-man show, very
Right.
heavy technical, big, wonderful team of people,
Yeah.
one-man show.
Working hard right now.
It's at the Doris Duke Theater tomorrow night and Friday night.
Yep,
We want to
yep.
say that. And I see that Zuri has been putting up the address people want to go to.
Oh, great.
It's not up there now.
Oh, okay.
And you can always go to my Facebook page, Donna.Blanchard, and find information there. I put it up there. And it's all about Donna on Twitter.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that your Twitter account? It's all about Donna?
Absolutely.
That's great. I like that. That's great.
Thank you. I appreciate that validation. So let's talk about how, when was the last time you did the show?
I did it at the American Conservatory Theatre in January when I was doing Indian Ink there. The artistic director, Carrie Perloff, was intrigued by this work, and so I did it for the students there, and their third year students were, art devising solo work.
Oh, okay.
So I put it on as just to show them, like you can create a solo work and it can be commercial and you can keep making money off it and tour it and stuff. So,
Yeah.
so that was in January.
So is it, I'm going back just a little bit again, is it that you wanted to devise your own stuff? Well, there's a certain amount of power that comes with that, but was part of the drive that there weren't roles, that Tom Stoppard wasn't writing roles for you?
Well, funnily enough, Indian Ink was written back in the 1990s, but it wasn't being produced in New Zealand at that time, So there were probably roles internationally, but not in New Zealand. So yeah, it was about just working, really. And, when I first started devising theater in the 1990s, I was kind of colorblind, I just looked in the mirror and saw a white actor, because those were the types of actors that were working. So I didn't really see myself as an Indian, really. Like, it was in my 20s that I started to identify myself as an Indian person in New Zealand. And I think a lot of people who are like of a minority, in a culture might experience that, because you're desperate to kind of fit in and be one with everybody else. I mean, that was my journey. So again, I think the core thing was just like, instead of seeing myself as being weak as an Indian person, I started seeing myself as being strong as an Indian person, and that has a you know, there's a creative capital there in ethnicity. You know, you can talk about your experiences, and that was the other thing. You know, when I started devising theater, it wasn't really very socially relevant, and then with something as kind of ridiculous as the kind of comedy that we do, those Indian guys that we create, it had this social relevance. Like we had, I mean, some of the most amazing experiences of my professional career was like having like a 90-year-old Indian woman who's never been to the theater before in New Zealand come and see From India with Love and come up to us afterwards and go, oh, I don't know what that was, but it was funny. You know, like totally never had that kind of experience, but the story was something that was able to attract or draw these people to the theater. And you know, we got a lot of the New Zealand Indian community to support us, and they came to our shows and they sold us out. And we were one of the few independent theater companies in New Zealand in like 2004, 2005 that were just selling out shows. You know, we were selling out venues, and we were never funded by the Creative New Zealand organization, by the government arts funding organization. We just did it totally on our own. We used our overdraft on our bank account, and we just did it, you know, and that was really empowering.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
So when you and Taryn are working on a script, are you setting out to make it have a social comment in it, or are you looking for what your audience is gonna?
Yeah. The first one, Deranged Marriage, was just whatever we thought was funny at the time. Like if it was funny, it got in. That was it. There was no ulterior motive. If it's funny, it's in, and that's how we started. So it was really like no pressure, you know. Like I've done so many like writing workshops where, you know, or theater creative workshops where it's like, oh, you have to figure out your theme and then make all of the things fit into the theme, and then you have to have the structure and blah, blah, blah. It's just like, no, you don't have to do that at all. You just have to get up on the floor and do things which you like to do, and then put it in front of an audience and see if it works and learn that way. Like, that's how I learned. And, you know, every time I've tried to do something through a proposed formula that some expert has put forward, I find myself actually stymied, you know? So it's just like, do something that's fun, that's sustainable. You know what I mean? Like, if it's too hard and it's too much pressure, you're not going to do it, right? Like, if you're self-devising, you have to motivate yourself. So it's got to be fun. It's got to be something that you feel like you want to keep doing.
Right.
Right? And so that was the first step. And then once we got success, then when we did the second show, then we reached out more for kind of social relevance consciously, because we interviewed people. So that was really awesome. We went and interviewed all of these Indian elders in our community in New Zealand. We went out to Pukekohe, where a lot of the original Gujarati immigrants had settled in the 1960s and now worked as farmers in New Zealand. And we interviewed all of these old timers, you know, in their community hall. And they told us all these stories of what it was like when they came to New Zealand in the 1960s, and the attitudes people had towards Indians. And there was resistance because they were agricultural laborers. They grew potatoes, and a lot of the pre-existing farmers didn't like it, you know, these immigrants coming in and, you know, growing vegetables, taking over the turf, you know. And all of these narratives I'd never heard of. Like, I never knew that. I didn't know growing up as a New Zealand Indian when Indians immigrated. It certainly wasn't taught to me in school. He's gonna teach Indian immigration into New Zealand in school, in New Zealand, right? We're too busy learning about, I don't know, World War II. So, you know, that was amazing. That was really amazing, and that was really empowering too. And that was a huge thing for me. At the time, I didn't realize it, but now looking back, I realize it was a real landmark moment for me, a watershed moment of feeling relevant. You know, like I wasn't some dude who was just knocking on the door of a casting director's office trying desperately to be cast in some crap role on some disposable TV show that nobody will care about 2 years from now.
Right.
I was actually communicating with a community that hadn't told their stories before, and then taking those stories and putting it on stage. Right?
And sharing it.
With hundreds and hundreds, thousands and thousands of people who are happy to like come and enjoy the show, and then afterwards come up and say, that was fantastic, keep doing that, you know? So that was a huge thing, you know. That was like, I just stumbled upon that, but I feel always grateful that I discovered that, you know. And in fact, coming to America in 2005 has been another challenge because now I'm not connected with that community anymore. Like, there's no, I mean, I'm not going to be putting on theater in New Zealand anymore. I live in New York.
Right, we're not going to feel, we're not going to feel the same way we are, as they are learning about the stories of the potatoes.
Exactly,
Farming
it doesn't
and
have the
taking
relevance.
over the turf.
Yeah,
literally.
so like a lot of people who moved to New York City, you know, I found myself completely uprooted and displaced there. And actually what I've been saying over and over again to my friends in the last couple of years is that, oh my God, I feel like I've been muted. Like the experience of being an immigrant into New York City muted me. It just shut me down. Like because I didn't know what the story was anymore, you know, like who am I telling a story for and who am I going to devise with? You know, you're uprooted from your whole creative cluster, your whole support network, your whole community.
Right.
So it's like, I think a lot of that hits a lot of people when they go to New York. So I'm still actually now, I've been living in New York almost 9 years, and I'm still trying to figure out what the heck I want to do there as a creative, like as a source of creation, you know? I've just been like doing the work I had already created before 2007, but I haven't devised anything new since then. Oh, I did a couple of films and directed a couple of plays, but nothing like From India with Love or Deranged Marriage, like a substantial theatrical work that I've created, because I don't know what my story is now. I don't know the story I want to tell. I don't know.
Oh my God, isn't your story the same story as everybody else who has immigrated there from elsewhere and doesn't have a story to tell yet?
Right. Maybe that is the story.
Maybe that is the story.
Yeah, maybe that is.
You know, when I think unless you have really jumped out of your geographical home base, you don't understand what it is like to go to a new place. I'm 5,000 miles away from where I grew up
Chicago,
in the Midwest.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, Midwest, yeah.
Yeah, and for the longest time after I moved here, like my jokes were falling flat, and I'm thinking, I am really funny. What is the problem here? And it was just little cultural nuances, you know, so subtly different that I wasn't connecting with people in the same way.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Well, you know, we create an identity, right? Like, and we feel comfortable occurring to people in a certain way. And then when we go to another place, we don't occur to people in the same way. You know, like in New Zealand, before I left, I was 30 when I left New Zealand, and I occurred to everybody around me as an actor, you know, but not as an actor, not as somebody who wanted to act. Like, I was somebody who acted and created work. I was a deviser. I was a totally, you know, functional artist, and that's how I occurred to people. But then when I went to New York City, you know, like, trying to tell people that, like trying to translate that into this new community of people, it was really challenging, you know, because I felt like one of, whatever, 500,000, 600,000 unemployed actors, you know.
Yeah. Telling the same story over and over.
Well, no, trying to tell people I'm an actor, you know, I really am an actor. I'm not just like, you know, I really know this is what I really, really do. But, you know, everybody says that in New York City, you know.
Yeah.
Because everybody's trying to make it there.
Zuri just told me we only have like a minute and a half left.
Oh.
I'm so sorry to say that. I'm really enjoying the conversation. I can't wait to see your show.
Oh, it'd be great if you came.
I will be there tomorrow night.
Oh, awesome.
I will be
That
there.
sounds great.
And with all my friends, we're all coming.
Okay, well, please come to the show. Plug the show, right? Like, oh, here it is. Oh, look at this.
There it is.
Oh, look at it. I can see it. Oh, yeah.
Museum.org. That's where you find out about it.
I was trying to get the thing to go. Right there.
It's at 7:30 tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Zuri was working with you there too. I saw
Yeah.
that. I've never even tried. Okay. No,
Yeah.
I won't even touch it. I just
No.
made it go away.
Yeah.
HonoluluMuseum.org is where you want to go and get the tickets. The show is tomorrow night and Friday night at 7:30 at the Doris Duke Theater at the Honolulu Museum of Art.
And it's called Deranged Marriage.
Deranged Marriage, and
Yeah.
it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see it.
Oh, thank you.
And I look forward to seeing where else you go after that and come back.
I hope
and we'll
so.
talk some more.
I would love to come
and
back.
I really hope you get a good night's sleep tonight.
I hope so too, yes. Yeah.
It's been awesome. High five.
High five. All right.
Okay, thank you so much for being here and listening to our craziness. And I would also like to thank Zuri Bender, who is our technical director and is in my ear, Sachi Slomoff, our floor director, who is right over there. Thank you, Sachi. And Jay Fidel, who somehow manages to put it all together. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next week on Center Stage. Bye.